Okay, so start basically the way we'll do this as I think we'll go through each really Mechaber Amma is the ikr thing. That's the halacha. That's what you really have to know. Obviously, there's certain places where without a Siman, a Shach, it's very hard to understand the Mechaber Amma. But mainly we're going to focus Mechaber Amma. We're also going to look at, I guess, try to spot the important shachs and smas, whatever, that help clarify. Um, and so we'll start with each session, and then we'll do that like the seifim that have to do the simonim seifim that have to do with that. Will go inside. But really, the main thing is the most important thing is going to be to know the Mechaber and Rama down cold, and then once you have this background knowledge, just looking at the Mechaber Rama, you already remember it sparks the memory on the other things. So starting Pinu Yasechem Rabbayis Siman Yud Beis. So it's the eviction of a tenant from a house. Even in a case that they did not establish a rental period ahead of time, there was no prior agreement on what the rental period is. The landlord still has an obligation to notify the tenant before he evicts him. He can't just tell him get out. The Gemara about Maseches about Metzia Mevur Shechachamim Tiknu Shemaskir Eina Yochel Heitzias Asech Mebayis Bli Adam Mukdemes. So in Gemara about Metzia, the Chachamim made a takana that a landlord cannot just kick a tenant out of a house without letting him know first. And the Gemara there explains that if the house of the landlord, his own house, collapsed and he doesn't have where to live, then he can let him out, he can evict him with no prior notice. Why? He tells him, you're no better than me. Meaning, the landlord tells the tenant, even though I didn't notify you with proper advance notice, and now you're stuck up a paddle without up a paddle without a creek, or up a creek without a paddle, either way, and you can't find another house. You're stuck. But why are you any better than me? I myself I'm stuck up the creek right now. I would have told you before, but I couldn't. Why? I didn't know my house was going to fall down. Furthermore, it's brought in the Gemara there. So now what happens? Not just the masked himself needs the house, but all of a sudden his son needs the house. He's a chassan, he's getting married, he needs a house, so he needs somewhere to live with his new wife. So then it depends. So if he was able to let him know beforehand, he knew that he was going to get married and he was negligent. He didn't let the tenant know. Now he can't bring him out, right? Sometimes it can be shorter than that, but in this case, my son is already a chassan in a few weeks. It's not until Tammuz the chasna. Okay, so I have to tell him. I mean, depending if it's in some place, they only have to give him 30 days. So I'd have to tell him 30 days before depending on what it is, before the chasna, or in a place like we're going to learn later when you have where you have to give 12 months. Okay, I can't give him 12 months because I didn't know 12 months. It's not a 12-month engagement. But at the very least, then soon after my son becomes engaged, I have to tell the guy, by the way, my son is engaged. The chasna was set for such and such a date. I'm letting you know that my son's going to need this house. You're going to have to clear out. But if I didn't, then I can't tell him to go without proper notification. If he did not have this ability, I don't know, it was like his son all of a sudden, hey, Tai, eloped, mazel tov, So then, I did listen. What do you want me to tell you? My son just all of a sudden he got married. Now he needs a place to live. You didn't tell me about it. I wasn't even invited to Chasna. I wasn't invited to the to Elvis being Masad the Kedushin. What I'm going to tell you. So it's the same thing as it's the same thing applies. Right, but if me yadil leidom it ishma isatam shovalel, the same reason that's right above. Shaimelai ein chadif mi many. You're no better than me. V'tzarich ani sabais v'shol b'ni. I need the place for my son. So you're stuck now. Okay, if not, my son's going to be stuck. Schirus lizman kotzuv dina kemecher. So that we're all talking about, as explained with that in the Gemara, it's all going to be talking about in a case where there was no ksiva miresh, they didn't have ahead of time a deal of how long. There was no lease period. Arash Kosav, the Rosh writes, "Kol asugi b'Gemara yirak negela mikra shaskirus haisa b'stam, bli shesikmu b'neim al zman mesuyam shebei tistai maschirus." Everything that the Gemara is talking about, that's specifically when there was that he has to give notification before he evicts him. All this is all when there was no set lease period. Even in such a case where they did not set a time, he still has the takon of the chachamim is that he has to give him advance notice. But if they agreed on a period for the rental, it's basically considered like it's sold to the tenant. Only what? It's sold for a set period, but it's his property in every way. Let alone if his son got married, even mamish, his own house falls down. I'm sorry, you sold it. It's like if I'm going to sell my house, right? Regular sale, I sold it to somebody, and a month later I'm going to come back and say, hey, you have to give it back to me. It's my house fell down. I'm sorry, I feel bad for you, but it doesn't make it. You sold it to me. It's mine now. It's not. You can't come to me any more than you come to any random person in his house and tell him, get out, my house fell down. Shulchan Aruch. So the Shulchan Aruch says, in this is Sif Aleph, in Shin Yud base. Somebody who rents to his friend a house, a chutzir, a bathhouse, a store. He cannot renege and evict him during the time that was set. Afilu nafal beisi shel, so that the Shulchan Aruch starts out from the kotzav when they set the time. Afilu nafal beisi shel maski shein li, even if the landlord's own house collapsed that he's living in and now he has no place to live. Afilu hedni, and even he became poor. And he has to sell it to Acher. He can't evict him. Now he became poor. He had to sell it. The sale is good. However, the guy who buys it is bound by all the same requirements that the original owner. So the original owner A, he gets poor, sells it to guy B. Guy B goes, oh, I want to get rid of the tenant. I bought this house. No. You have to honor the same lease agreement that the original owner had. So once that time is done, whatever time that they set between them is done, then you can get him out. Now, if he advanced him money, even for a long time. This is already, I believe that's in the Rama, not in the Mechaber. So interesting. It doesn't mention it's the Rama, but I think it's in the Rama, if I recall properly. I don't know. I think actually it was the Mechaber, and the Rama commented on it. He clarified it. Even for a long time. So whatever that the money amount is, however many, let's say it was $1,000 a month was the rental thing, and he gave him $24,000. He gave him advance payment. Listen, I'm going to pay you right now 24. Okay, that's it. I'm sorry. So that's the same as Kotz of Zman for 24 months. It's a 24-month lease, even though he didn't specify it. But we're assuming he gave him 24 months, the amount for 24 months. That was the equivalent of, they agreed to 24 months between them. Hainu afilu b'mikre shel kotz uzman meireish b'mefurash shekein atashlo mireish hu k'tziva zman mireish. Even if they didn't specify a time, that's which I believe it's the Beis Yosef and the Rama brings it. That he clarifies that the Mechaber is Davke Tak, which is a funny thing actually, because I'm not sure why he clarifies it. To me it would seem like obvious. Because what do you mean afilu like katzos? Then what's his chiddush otherwise? What, like, if katzos man, so who cares if hikdim like or not? So I'm not really sure why he mentions that, or why the Rama feels the need to clarify that point from the Beis Yosef. Find that, so according to the Rama, he brings the Beis Yosef that Tashlo Mereish is like said the same as setting time. It's as if we agreed on that time. So now continuing an idea of the selling the house that the tenant lives in. Bishal Zechuvas Mishnah Halachis. Nishal Eidis Reuven Shiskir Bayit L'Shimon L'Shali Shanim. So he made Reuven rented it out to Shimon for 3 years. Ube'emtzet Kufas Aschirus Mocher Reuven Zabayis Alevi Bishtar Mecher V'nigmana Aiska. Then Reuven goes and sells the house to Levi, and with all the proper things, because they did a proper closing of the chulum. Ka'eis tayin Reuven shekavanasi haisa shamechira tachol b'feil rak b'sim tkufas aschir shel Shimon. So now Reuven is saying that he didn't mean he's selling it right now. He means I'm going to make the deal with you now, but the deal's not going to take hold until after the rental is done. So he feels he should continue receiving the rent from Shimon. Levi says, what are you talking about? We finished the deal, we closed on it. It was a done deal. It's my house. I get the rental. Obviously, this is this would be nowadays a fairly rare occasion. This is what's it called? This would be part of the sales contract. Generally, is if there's a tenant inside there, what the deal is or whatever. But obviously, so here we're talking a case where they didn't specify about this. Mishnah Lochis honest. The Mishnah Lochis answers the Pashas calls Manshur Reuven le'am mefurish mechira tachol rak b'sim tkuf zaschiras. As long as Reuven did not specify this, that it's that the sale is only gonna practically speaking be carried out after the schirus, after the lease. So we don't believe him to say that this was intention. The sale is immediate. Takes effect immediately. Which fool is gonna pay money to buy the house now, knowing that for the next 3 years, 2 years, or whatever it is, this house, he's the prior owner is still gonna get the rent. I'm guessing the Mishnah Halachis was not familiar with Monsey and Borough Park and some places where it's sometimes so hard to get to buy a place that people would actually possibly make a deal like that. Meaning, at least I can only sell to you in 2 years when the lease is done. I'll give you the money now. Let's close now on the house in 2 years from now. I could see it happening these days in certain areas. In either case, the mistam, that's not the thing, and I guess by him it wasn't a normal thing. And in either case, it's not. We don't believe him if he didn't specify. The sale took effect right away. Since the sale took effect right away, so automatically, when he sold him the house, he also sold him the lease, that the rental lease of Shimon. That Levi enters, the new buyer enters, the buyer enters like the place of the seller in every way. The Levi tzarich lekabel case the me'aschirus ve'yachdim zeis Levi ein yochel eitzi Shimon me'abayis ad l'sim kov schirushalei. And on the one hand, he gets the rent. At the same time, just like Reuven couldn't evict him until the end of the agreed upon time, so too now Levi can't evict him until the end of this time. Shachayz shal Shimon and Reuven mechayev es Levi shnis mekayim. Since Levi is entering Reuven's place, so whatever Reuven was obligated to Shimon, now Levi is obligated to Shimon. The keiche shal Levi ain't a god mekeiche shal Reuven, and Levi has he does not have any additional rights that Reuven did not have. He's bound by the same obligations. She puts him about Babais and Meshach Zman Aschirus, Kosovar Rama. The Rama writes, Hamaskir Bais Lachaveri B'teich Zman Reitz Livnesi in Yochel Chayv Letzeis Afilu Bais Yofim Menu Gam Lahachnes Pim Lebais Livnesi. Mio Mevachim in Asech Elasis Lefnim Adin. So somebody rents a house to somebody, and in the middle of this time he wants to do the renovations. So he can't force the tenant to leave the house for renovation. Even if he's gonna give him listen, I'm giving you a place twice the size. Right? I'm giving you here, I own these 5 condos. I'm renting you this one. I'll pay your moving costs. I'll move you into this other one. It's twice the size. It's much nicer. Shimon says, I don't want. I already moved in here. I don't. It's a hassle for me. Whatever. I like it here. I don't need bigger. I'm not moving out. He can't force him. The only thing he can do is he can ask him to, he can ask him nicely. And Mistama being that he has no obligation to move. Mistama he could even he could negotiate with him on what would make it worth it for him to move. B'Shalos Tshuvos Minchas Osher in the response of Minchas Osher Kosov, he wrote She'advorim Amurim Rak Be'Afra Mamashis, that this is only talking about when he's mamish interfering, when he's mamish disturbing. Like, for example, the tenant he's disturbing his sleep. But if he's talking about just a temporary loss of comfort. Like he wants to close make the balcony, or close the balcony or the patio or whatever, wants to make it closed so that he can charge more for the next guy. And if he doesn't do the work, it's gonna be a loss to him, a financial loss, because he would make more money if it's closed. And the landlord takes every precaution to not overly disturb the tenant and his family. Then the tenant cannot protest it. He cannot stop him. The kol shekain betikun kalum mohir. How much more so with just a quick something quick. That's easy. That's really no disturbance at all. Shekaif misasecher al midas sedaim she amshlamas says that. So if he's not disturbing you, why you stam being difficult? So if he's not being difficult and it's really not a big deal, then it's midas daim, and we don't, and then we force him to let him in. So now so far we're talking about when they established a time. So like we said in the Gemara before, like the Rosh said, that the Gemara there was talking about when they did not set a time. And what did the Gemara say there? That even so, he has to give him advance notice in order to evict him. The Gemara specified how much time are we talking about? The Rambam Shulchan Aruch bring this in the Mechaber. That's going to be Seif Hey. Somebody who rents a dwelling to his fellow stam without specifying. So he cannot evict him until he gives him 30 days advance notice. That he should have enough time to find a new place. He won't be thrown onto the street. And at the end of the 30, he's got to go out. He found a place. He didn't found a place. I gave you 30 days. 30 days is enough time to find a place. You didn't find a place. That's not my problem. I gave you enough time to do so. When is this in the summer? But in the rainy season, between Sukkot and Pesach, right? So that's when the rainy season starts. We say Mashvaruach until we start saying Meridatol. That's so then he can't you can't get him out through that period. Why? Because during that period, this Mas explains it. I don't have to explain it. That's Mabir. This Ma explains. It's hard for a person to move himself from one house to another. And it's harder to move. It's harder to find a place. Why? Because other people don't want to move. So it's very hard to find a place when other people don't want to move. Therefore, even if he tells him 30 days ahead of time, he can't bring him out between those times. So he has to tell him when, because once Sukkot hits, people already don't want to move. So he has to tell him 30 days prior to Sukkot, because that gives them a month until Sukkot, while people are still moving, in order to move. And only if he told him 30 days before the beginning of Sukkot, he can only evict him at the end of 30 days. Before Sukkot begins, because that's when it's considered the beginning of the rainy season. It's furthermore explained in Rambam, and also in the Shulchan Aruch brings his words. This is all in a residential house in the city, or in the towns, sorry. Beis megurim lafuki chanus, uvayoris lafuki krachim. In a residential as opposed to commercial, and in the towns as opposed to the large cities. If it's a store, even a store in the town, or if it's a house, and how much more so a store in a big town, in a big city. He has to give him 12 months notice, even in the summertime. He always has to give him 12 months notice. So we see that we have what do you call it? Well, it's not really squatters' rights. It's different, because squatters' rights is something different. And there's one major difference here. We see, right? It almost seems like New York. Like you can't you can't get rid of the guy. They have 12 months. You have to give him a notice. There's a big difference, though, is that in all these places, these liberal places where they have all these tenants' rights, it's even if the guy doesn't pay. In fact, not only even if the guy doesn't pay, it could be even if the guy never paid the chatchila. The guy was in there 30 days, he took it as an Airbnb, he just stayed there, and he never even made the original payment, but he's there 30 days. So that's not so, because Rav Kasimov said, mentioned yesterday in the shir, that all of this is hinges on the fact that he actually paid, that he continued making the payments this whole time. The second he stops making the payments, he's gone. Um, Kivan shekosha limtzi chanus acheres. So why? Kivan shekosha limtzi chanus acheres. That's good. I feel about yoris because it's hard to find another um, store. Like commercial properties are not so easy to find. It's not like Airbnbs. Commercial property is a whole thing to find it. There, first of all, there's some different commercial properties there, or stores or whatever. It has to be set up right it has to be the right store and set up right and have the right things, loading dock or whatever it is that this particular business needs. And that's harder to find. And also in the big, large cities, um, it's harder to find even a residential house is harder to find. So therefore, even in the big cities, not just a store, but even the residential is going to be 12 months. Hemshech Rama Shulchan Aruch, continuation of the Rama Shulchan Aruch. Kishem Shemaskil Chayav L'Idiyah. Interesting. Where's the? He didn't bring it the part that I don't see where he brought it. In certain kinds of stores, it could be even up to 3 years. Maybe it's later. Okay. Just like the landlord has to give notification. שבכרוך נגם נזכה לפרק זמן אורך לקח יסר זמן למצוא שכל מתאים. כדי שיבקש שוכן ולא יישאר בעשי פנוי. אם לא ידיע, אין יכול לצייס, אלא יתנס השכר. The same thing, just like the same obligations that's on the landlord is on the tenant. Now, again, so if they had a zman kotzuv, they had a set time. As soon as the time is done, just like the landlord can kick him out as soon as the time's done, right? He can't kick him out a day before that, but the second it's done, he can get him out of there. The same thing, the tenant, what's it called? He can't leave. He can't leave in the middle of the lease period. Like we said yesterday, unless he finds he can find him a fitting. If he finds him a fitting replacement, then it could be good. The truth is, some leases they specify in them that that you cannot sublease without written permission. So, and then you're if the in that case, even you find somebody fitting, if the landlord's not masking, he's not masking. In this case, we're talking about he didn't discuss it. If he finds him somebody that's fitting, fine. But otherwise, you're stuck to this, just like the landlord is stuck 30 days, or in a store or in a big city, he's stuck 12 months. The tenant is stuck the same thing. And because why? Because just like it takes 30 days, or it takes longer in a big city or a store for the tenant to find a place. It's the same thing applies to the landlord. He needs to find another tenant now. Just like it takes you longer, it takes him longer to find a tenant for a store and in a large town. And if you leave, too bad. You got to still keep paying him. You're obligated by this lease. I don't care you left, so yeah. I'm not walking into it. I'm leaving it. What do you call it? It's your place. You keep paying me. Rama. So Rama says, "Oh, Yamid loy achrim came. Oh, the melech she's bias, or he can find him another tenant. But if he wants to put somebody who's not fitting, then the landlord does not have to accept this. Right. So now, what happens if the market prices go up on a property, on rentals? So if it was a lease with the Zman Kotzuv and it's a set lease, I'm sorry, too bad. That was your agreement covers the entire lease period. But let's say it was this scenario of it's going month to month, and they did not set up a specific time, and now the the rates, the listen, my this area, what's it called? A good school opened, a good pizza shop, something I don't know. Everybody's moving here now. So how the housing prices went up, the rentals went up. And now when we made our when I originally told you $500 a month, that's what you could get. Now I get $1,000 a month. This that we say that he has to give him advance notice, and otherwise he can't evict him. If the properties they increased in value, so the landlord could tell the tenant, oh, say, listen, either give me, I'm not kicking you out. I understand it's hard to find places now. At the same time, listen, we didn't have a lease. So I'm not asking, I'm not going to try to gouge you, but everybody knows the rentals are going now. They jumped from the time 2 years ago when you started living there month to month. It was a certain value, and now everything's gone up in this area. Nobody's paying 500 a month anymore. It's 1,000 now, or pay its value, or go out. That's a key word, the bishavel. It's a value, meaning I can't just properties went up. Now I'm going to tell you 3,000 because I want to get you out of there faster. It has to be reasonable market price of what people are paying to rent such a place. The same thing if the values went down. Now he's giving him the option. He's saying, pay me the value. And if not, then leave. So I can, the same thing if it goes down, if the values went down in this area, right? What's his name? Tony Carlson. What's his name? I don't know. So who's the guy he's talking about? Tucker Carlson. Tucker Carlson moved into the area. None of the Jews want to stay there anymore. All the values went down.
He promoted Chabad lately, gave him free airtime.
What?
He promoted Chabad.
Yeah,
he said we're all over the campuses,
It's, by the way, a lot of the things he said is it's very true. Nobody knew these things before. Now everybody knows. By the way, he's smart.
The power of the he's able to get an enemy.
Not just that. He's so smart, this guy, right? That he realizes if he's going to start talking about how nice Chabad is, right? Everybody hates him. Nobody's going to listen, especially he's all right. He's on the right. This guy, he's a Trumper, right? So everybody's gonna.
I think now he went. Now he went left. He was pro Trump. I think he lost his marbles over there. I don't know.
Probably lost his marbles everywhere.
But, he lost his marbles.
Yeah, but if you're gonna say
now he's Islamist.
Yeah. Oh, really? Mamish. Yeah. So anyway, if you're gonna tell everybody, oh, Chabad is great, who's gonna listen? If you say, oh, Chabad is horrible, now you got everybody's there. Who is this Chabad that he's talking about? Is horrible, Now, yeah. So, anyways, the values shot down.
Depreciation of value. You were talking about right now.
Yeah. So what do you do? And the seicha, the tenant says, listen. Right, because remember, we just established that the tenant has the same obligation as the landlord. He also can't just leave. But now the prices went down, he can leave. Well, he can't just leave. He has to give the option. Listen, when I rented it from you, it was before the property went down. Now the property went down, and we're going month to month. So I can't. I can't just leave. The Torah doesn't let me just leave because then I'm leaving you high and dry, and you can't find another guy. But you know what? So I won't leave. But at least adjust it to the proper lower prices. That's now. The Olympics moved out of town. It's not so expensive here anymore. HaShulchan Aruch Chesif. The Shulchan Aruch adds. שהמאסקר יסייחד יחלם לדרי שני במחיר הסחירס בהתר במחירים של עכשיו רק בנגיע לכאן ולבא. So the Mechaber adds that which you can't go and tell him, and by the way, for the past 4 months I've been overpaying. That's no. You didn't bring it up then. Now you're bringing it up. Fine, let's talk about it now. But you can't demand from him retroactively. And they do not have to give 30 days notice. Right, meaning it's not that it changed and now he's coming to him now that it changed half a year ago, and now he's coming to him to tell him, listen, by the way, the market changed like 6 months ago, and I'm overpaying you. So we say that since he didn't bring it up, so Mistama he was agreeable to that rate. Otherwise, he would have brought it up. You can't say, you know what, and pay me, because remember, he can't leave. He's not allowed to leave, and the other guy can't evict him in another case. The only thing you can tell him is, listen, pay, like, either pay me the worth, or the other guy can say, charge me only what it's worth. Now, if the guy agrees, then he's still bound to it. He can't, then he can't leave, or he can't evict. Right? If I say, listen, the market dropped 6 months ago. Now I'm overpaying you. So either charge me less or I'm leaving. And the guy says, okay, you know what? So pay me the 500 only. That's fine. Mask him. Now I can't leave. I'm not allowed to leave. As long as he agreed to take the amount of what it's worth now, I can't walk out now again until whatever the proper notice is as required. Now I go tell him, no, you know what? And pay me back for the past 6 months I overpaid, or I'm leaving. No. He does not have to pay you back for the last 6 months, and you're not allowed to leave. He accepted it, Mikan Haba, he's good. And you're still bound by the contract. Now, on the other hand, when there was a set rental period, a set lease, then no advance notice is required at all. Because the Shulchan Aruch wrote himself, if he rented it out for a set time, when the time period that with our lease agreement for is done, you're out immediately. Even if the time finishes in middle of the rainy times. Why? Because listen, you knew it was going to be in the middle of the rainy months, and you should have leased it from me only till after that. The set time is a set time. I can evict you. You're out immediately. Right? The same thing, just like there's in the Bichlal and Choshen Mishpat, we see an overwhelming sense of fairness. Right? We'll see later. The one Yitzim in Aklal is by the hourly worker, that he could leave in the middle of the day, and Yodi al Yaina, and he gets no penalty for it, etc., etc. Right? Unless in the case of a Davra Avud, when it's something that'll take a loss because of it, he can't. But generally, other than that, a guy, an hourly worker, it's mutter for him to leave, and no problem. He can in the middle of the day say, you know what, I worked 4 out of the 8 hours. Goodbye, Charlie. See you later. That is very unusual. Meaning, what's unusual is the fact that the balabas, on the flip side, can't get rid of him in half the time. The balabas can't tell him, okay, 4 hours, leave. No. You told me you have 8 hours of work. So why he can and he can't? It's a very unusual situation. Generally speaking, in Choshen Mishpat, there is an overwhelming sense of fairness. That if it's obligating the landlord, it's obligating exactly like this the tenant. If it's obligating the seller like this, it's obligating exactly the buyer. If it's obligating the employer, it's obligating automatically the employee. That case was because the pasuk that liavadim. So it's a takonas hakasuv, so it's different. It's a very but that's actually a very rare thing. And here we can see how there's a sense of it's fair across the board here. That the Seicher, same thing. As soon as is just like the landlord can evict him as soon as the period is done if it's a set period. The same thing with the tenant. The tenant does not have to give any advance notice. He ups and leaves. He doesn't have to tell him he's leaving. Listen, you know I knew our lease was done. Why? Why? Because they both know already in advance what the period is of this rental. Now, unlike before where we said, right, that if it's when it's going month to month, right, he can say, listen, either pay me what the place is worth or you have to leave. By Zman Katzov, when we made a lease agreement, it doesn't make a difference if the price went up on that place, the price went down on the place. That was our agreement. Shulchan Aruch and Miskil Zman Yedua, if the rental was for a known time, even though the property values went up. Yehuzlu, or they went down. There's no adding, there's no taking away. You pay exactly what we specified and for the whole period. Rama Avi Gam Din Zebeloshin Tzashene brings the same rule, but with a slightly different wording. And so too, if he rented it for a set time, even if the property values went up or went down, too bad, you can't change anything, only it goes according to what the condition they made. Hashach bir, the Shach explains, Kavanas Rama, so why does he say the same thing in a slightly different wording? Right, it's like in Tintin, there's the twins that these two police officers with the mustaches. So they each of the one says something, and another one says to be precise, and he says almost the same thing, but like messes it up slightly. Right, that's like an ongoing thing in there. So they say so. The Shach wants to explain why the Rama is Thompson. That's the name. The Thompson and Thompson. One's with a P and one's without a P. But so the Shach wants to understand why he's doing a Thompson and Thompson here. Why is he saying the exact same thing the Shulchan Aruch just said, but in a slightly different wording? The Shach explains his intention. Kan lechadish ke'ein mashikaz v'Shulchan Aruch al schirus she'ein lizman kotzov. He comes to bring to make a chiddush here that similar to what the Shulchan Aruch said on rental that's not for a set time. B'hainu she'ma seicher nishar b'dilo l'achar teim hazman shekotzov l'schirus b'li shedibur b'neim al shinei b'mechir. If the tenant stays after the end of the rental period, of the lease period, and they did not speak about them about a price, min astam hoyo ze al das mechirish. But let's say he continues month to month. Even if it goes up or down, so neither of them can go in taina the mafreya that oh, wait a second, when I stayed from month to month, I thought it wasn't under the same price as our original agreement. No, you're staying even though you're staying month to month and you're outside of the agreement, unless you discussed it, it stays under the original. This tevia only goes from now and further. And even when they are now no longer in the original period. The truth is, I don't understand. It still doesn't seem like a big kiddush to me. So then he changes to a guy who knows no longer Zman Katzov. And we already said by a guy who's not Zman Katzov that you can only change Mechir Mekan L'Habasa. So what's he really being Mechadish here? unless maybe that's the Rama's point. Maybe the Rama's point is once the period is done, you went month to month. You've now become an Eines Man Kotzev for everything. It's not an extension of the contract. But you become the same as a and maybe Aliyah Ayirida be'erich hadira machmas shinui b'neichi shel hadira. So now let's talk. There's a different kind of going up or down. Give kiss a cause of visitation. The Gabi Adina now. Shlinit l'shanas mechira schiras be'emtzat kufa aktuv milish. Right, he wrote about the fact that you can't change the price when you have a set lease period. Meaning it's not that all the prices went up or down in the city. It's not so much of an economical thing, but rather the property itself gained or lost. Well, we're up until now we're talking about the market went up or the market went down. Now, what if the market stayed the same? The property itself went down. Why? Lavdafka for something intrinsic to it, but like there's a new. All of a sudden, now there's a highway. They turned this street into a major highway, and now there's a whole bunch of traffic over here. So even though the economy didn't change, the property market didn't change, but this street changed. Yeah, so Shagam Bazar no Aimrim, we say Shemazoli shall Seicher Garam. We say that it's his bad luck caused it. Right? Because it wasn't the landlord didn't build the road. The township came and built the road. So the landlord's listen, it's your bad luck, what I'm gonna tell you. I didn't build it. I didn't do anything. That's when it became more expensive, right? And because there's a new high, they paved the new roads, so it's easier for people to get there. Also, if it goes down, why? Because something that causes a lower quality of life. They built before when I rented it, the lot next door was empty. And now they came and built right next to my house, 2 feet away. They built another house. And it doesn't have the same light. He cannot the tenant cannot come and ask for a lower price. Now this is talking about by when there's a set period. שרק אשר יש בגם חדש שבכיכי לבטל את הסחירס לגמרי, יכול השכל ליטין שהוא מוכן להמשיך לגור בדירה במחיר נמוך. That only if there's a problem, an issue of a new issue that's of this sort that could actually be mevatel the entire schirus, right? That it would basically make it like a mekach tos. That only in that case you can say, you know what? The truth is, I can this new pagam. I can walk away from the house altogether if I want to. I can just leave. But you know what? I'm willing to negotiate with you. Let's what's it called? I'll continue living here at a lower price. Right, so that's a different story. But as long as it's not something like that, but if it's not something that's of that sort of severity that you can nullify the whole rent, the whole agreement, he also can't demand a lowered price because I'm renting you the same thing. It's be'etzem the same place. You chveis a little thing here, a thing there, but it's the same place I'm renting you. It didn't change, in in an essential way. However, what if the increase in value was caused by the landlord? Because he did renovations to it. Because that it's unclear if the landlord can claim a higher rent. Shekain yesh makim lidmais zeis ledin adam sheyad b'rishus lasod l'stei chaveri v'ishbicha tzarich b'asad l'shalmei zeshevach, that perhaps this is similar to the case of somebody who went to his friend's field. He wasn't trespassing. He went in with permission, but he did something that improved the value of the field. That now he has to pay him for what he increased the value. And perhaps this is also the ruling here. That he would have to pay the landlord what the higher value from the renovation. However, on the flip side, Nitan Leimar, he could perhaps say, the tenant could say, you didn't do this for me, you did this for yourself. You're increasing the value of your own property. I should pay you more because you increased the value of your own property. This is something you did for your own good. The Pisachation, he stated it needs clarification. He wasn't uncertain. But he added when we should put him, but he adds that if the tenant was very clear that he's not interested in these renovations, then for sure the landlord cannot raise the rent on him. If he specified, listen, I'm gonna, like you said before, he has to ask permission. He's gonna come into renovations. The guy says, well, listen, if I'm not looking for renovations, I'm not interested. If you want to do this for yourself, you're doing it for yourself. You're doing it from. I don't want renovations. So certainly, if he specified that he's not interested in these renovations, the landlord cannot then come and charge him for renovations. So yeah. Next. Seicher sheitet tzorich lesapel seicher nichnas al pegam mashmusi b'dira. So now, how about what do we do? What's the story if you have a renter and he's leaving, his lease is done? Is he required to inform a new tenant that's coming in? Let's say a guy's coming in, he's coming to look at the property. Oh, this looks wonderful, and is he required to tell him, by the way, this sink leaks, and this, what's it called? The Avnei Yashbe writes that if Reuven rented a property and he leaves it, and he's leaving it because there's a big problem in it. There's a big issue with it. Like it has a bad smell. He has to tell the people who are interested in this dwelling, and so too on any other pagam in the dira, any other issue in the dwelling. That is what we learned in the laws of a of the defrauding in buying and selling in business, that you're required to tell a buyer about a blemish in the scheda, in the goods. That's only the seller. It's not only a chiyuv on the seller. That because of the mitzvah of returning a lost article, you have to save the money of your friend, of your fellow, and therefore it's not just that the owner of the seller has to tell him, but anybody who knows that there's an issue with this item is required to tell him. So to here, he has the same requirement. However, if the tenant is afraid of the balabais, as we know, the balabais, let's say he's a guy who owns a whole bunch of apartment buildings, he owns the town, like they say, and he's afraid of him. He's gonna now he'll be able to find another property. This guy's gonna make him crazy. He's gonna make suits against him. Whatever. He's he's afraid of him. He's gonna take it. He's gonna take revenge on him. Patur asech l'sabakach. In this case, he's patur from telling the new guy about it. In chayev lahavs moment of a mitzvah shozaveda, that he's not required to lose his own money to save the money of his friend. So I think I think maybe let's go. That's Shinyud base. Maybe we should go inside Shinyud base in the Mechaber. And the tour over here. Okay, we gotta get to the Mechaber. Yeah. Okay, so Mechaber is in your base. Now, Maski by Schavel is man Kotzav Istan. Now, Maski Lechavele by Sechotzer in Merkach is a Chanus, is man Kotzav in Yochel Lachzer by Yelitzieh. Peich Zmanik. So somebody who you make a lease agreement, that is whether it's a house or a store or a bathhouse or anything else, he cannot renege on it and evict him in within that time that they agreed on. Afilu nafal beisi shel maskir, even if his own house fell she'ein makim ladud, he doesn't have a place to live in. Vafilu heni, and even if he became poor, v'tzarich l'machil la'acher, and he has to sell to somebody else. Eini yochel hitzieh v'hamekach kayim. But the sale is good. So even meaning he became poor, and now he has to sell to somebody else. The sale is good. However, the new buyer, the buyer of the property, he also cannot evict so the sale is good, but the new buyer has to leave him in there, even though he now owns the property fair and square. Until the end of the lease period. If, however, it was rented in such a way that he's not going to be able to ever redeem it, meaning if he doesn't sell it, he'll never be able to redeem it. Then in such a case, he's going to lose the entire property. So then he can sell it and take it and evict him right away. His name is if that was the case, that was the one case of the thing that doesn't pass over. Like we said, all the obligations and all the tanoim pass over to the new buyer. Besides for if he made a tanai that he can get him out if he'll need it. Why? Because there was no mamashus there, like we said. That's the Rama. That the Mechaber imhektim leyaschar afilu l'zman meruba in yochel yitziat sheichal l'zman klos shektim le. And if he advanced paid him, then that's considered the same like cuts of zman, like they said at time. And he can't get him out, like we said before. If it was $1,000 a month, if he gave him $12,000. That's the same like they agreed on 12 months. If we gave him 24,000. The Rama explains afilu loy cuts of these man, even though they didn't set a time. Afilu hachim mistamis schari negim esav. Even so, we it's mistama when he gave him that money, he was agreed to it when he gave him that money. Somebody who rents the house to his friend, and in this time he wants to remodel it. He cannot force him to go out. I feel the bais yofi man, or even not to a nicer house. You can't even take workers into the house. However, we asked the seicher to go for mishur sadin, as we read before. What is a pischation? I think maybe where it was that said that that's only when it's really when it's creating a major disturbance. If he's not creating a major disturbance, and Allah has come if it's a minor disturbance, then in not letting him in is just midas sadaim, and then in that case we force him. Let's see, sma, schirus karka. So the sma mentioned an interesting point, is how do you rent it out? You make a kinyan, bein kesef, bein b'shtar, bein b'chazaka, bein b'kinyan sudr, kedin mecher, just like a sale. You make the same kind of kinyan like by a sale. כמשקוס ואטור מחב בסעיף סימן קוצב צדיק בייס ולאחר שנעשה לא יחמל קניונים havali כמכר. And once you make this kind of a kinyan on the lease, then it's the same. It's like a sale. משום הכין יוכל יצא משום צד עד שיחל עלי הזמן שיסקל בקניין. That's why, since you made a kinyan and it was like a sale, you can't sorry, you're even if your own house falls down, you're out of luck, because it's like you sold it to him for this period. Shach, okay, he's just pointing somewhere else. The Shach base points out that who adin mechol hasecher ishte yachal gam neschiris af the loy nichnas adayin hasecher in yochel hamas k'la'akvel of the ikoni ichnes. So Shach points out that not only can you not evict him, but even if he hasn't moved in yet, you can't say, listen, if you're already living in there, but you never moved in, so now I need the nope, sorry. Even if he never moved in the first place, you still can't take it from him. So when even though neither this says the shach, even though neither the original owner or the new landlord, the one who sold it to, right, even though neither of them can, they have to wait till the end of his rental period, right? Even though they have to wait till the end of his rental period, but he can make a deal now for the end of the rental period. Like, so let's say this is coming up August, it's finished. So I'm the original owner. I can't get him out. Right? And now I sold the property to Rabbi Brunswick. Rabbi Brunswick also can't get him out. But either of us can make a deal now with a tenant for the end of August. We can already close the deal. And and I think the Shach says that because it's, in a way, it's a little bit of chiddush. If it's a mecher, how am I making a kinyan on something that's not mine? How am I making a deal with you on something that's not mine? So the answer is, it's not really, it's mine for that period, but it's meaning he doesn't really own the property. He only owns the use of the property, and he owns the use of the property for till that period. I still have in my rishus the property as well as the use of the property after that point. The smeh base. Let me see, because we see the Mechaber who diksha lama leil mita ve'imitim ligasfar. Where is he? Oh, he's talking about by the Haggah. Oh, so that's what we're just talking about by the Haggah over there. Fine. There, he's that's he's splitting hairs over the difference in the lashonos between the the Mechaber and the Rama. The first yeah, you fine, okay. Okay, Sif base. אם חוזר אחר שהזכירו לזה, והזכירו מוכרי לעכו"ם, אוי, אנו שהפקיע סחירוס, עונה שהפקיע סחירוס הראשון, על זה חייב להסכים לבייס אחר כמייסי, וכן כל קייצי בזה. So now, we said you're not allowed to evict him. But now, for something happened. Either he did it anyways, or for example, a guy came as a guy who what's it called? Came and he forced him to sell to him, this kind of thing. Then you have to, since you had his man katzuf, you have to you now are required to give me an equivalent house. The Akmali Anis, so the Smeh says that in Prisha he writes that dafke by a guy or somebody or an anos for like an anos is somebody who causes illness. Somebody forced him. Shemitzin la seichel bakifin. The sagi the maskil seichel le bais acher lo drubei. Hashenkis chori and machli Yisrael acher. Right. On the other, so this is dafka when he was forced, right? Because if he sells it to another Jew, right? Meaning if he sells it, if it's a guy or a big Russia comes in, a big what's it called? He sells the house to Esav, right? Well, Esav wasn't really a Jew. He sells it to who is it? He sells it to some Russia, and who's not going to listen to the basin, etc. So now he has to give him another house to live in. Or if it's let's say a guy, right? The Paritz comes and says, Shmulik, you're going to sell me your house. Shmulik goes, no, actually I have a tenant there. No, Shmulik, you didn't understand me. I said you will sell me this house. Okay, clearly you have no choice here. And he's taking what's called fine, so then you have to give him another place. So, right, so that's why it's the Akmal Anis, this mess says, because if it's another Jew, right, he's bound by what we just said before. When you buy the house, you can't, you got to leave the tenant in. So this is talking about when he sells it to somebody who's now not leaving him in. Mishin l'shonim yeduim bekach v'kach l'shono. Kol zman shleivdenu v'chazor mocher l'achar in l'kech yochel l'kachti miyad ha'malve t'chashono v'ach l'shono yochel l'kachti. So he made it a mashkin. He made it collateral for a certain amount of years, a certain amount of money each year. So as long as he did not redeem it, right? He didn't redeem it, then he went and sold it to another person. So the buyer cannot take possession of the property. Why? Because this property is a mashkin to somebody else. But that's only for a year, and after a year he can take it. I don't know why. I don't see anybody who explains why. Oh, very good. Yeah, I'm not sure, and I also don't know why he puts it here. Hiskil loy dalit, hiskil loy lalino. If he rents the property for sleeping, how much is sleeping? Ain't pachis mechad. It's not less than 1 day. It's like when I was a bacher, when I said I'm going to sleep, it meant for a whole day. Ain't pachis miyeh. Right? So to sleep is at least, that means at least a day. I can't get him out before a day. Lishavisa, the term shavisa, resting. Ain't pachis mishneyom means 2 days. Le'nisuin ain't a pachis milamid yom. If I'm saying I need to rent this house from my son to get like to have his chveis, like his honeymoon chveis, to get married, or maybe I don't know, or maybe they're renting it in order to make the chasna in the house. Not sure. So that's 30 days. This is the girsa, says the Smeh in the Rambam. This is the proper girsa in the Rambam Natur, as opposed to some others that the girsa in the Tur says Zayin Yamim. And he explains this whole thing in Parish. Hey, Hamaskir by Islam in Yochli. So now we were talking about if you're renting a house to somebody and there's a set rental period. However, what if you rent out the house to somebody with no specification? No, you cannot get him out. Like we said, you have to give 30 days notice. So he should find a place. And he should not be thrown on the way. And at the end of the 30 days, goodbye, Charlie. But that's only in the summer months. In the winter months, like we said, from Sukkot till Pesach, you cannot evict, because that is the winter times and people aren't, like we said, people aren't moving during those times, and people aren't, so therefore there's no freedom of property during those times. So now if he does 30 days, right, before Yom Tiv, before Sukkot, it needs to be a full 30 days. I come 1 day late and I didn't give him a full 30 days notice. Too bad. You can't get him out of there until after Pesach. So when do we say this? This is in the towns. But in the big cities, whether it's in the summer, whether it's in the winter, so if it's in a big city, or if it's a store, and how much more so if it's a store in a big city, then you got to give him 12 months. And here's the Rama says, in these specific types of stores, or these types of businesses, Gimel Shanim, he has to give him 3 years. And it's explained, the Sma, that they have bills, they have tabs that are ongoing tabs that go for a long time. When they come to pay, so they come to the store to pay him, right? They didn't have a Zelle and PayPal and Cash App. This whole thing is a moot point today, because the address, people don't come to bring the thing. When it comes from there to live in another place, they're not going to know where to find him. How do they pay him now? Therefore, we give him 12 months. and in this time he can collect his the money owed to him. That's right from going from the past. Right, what he's going to sell on credit from this point and on. So already he's going to write, meaning it's a 12-month period. Generally speaking, the tab isn't carried more than 12 months. So you give him 12 months to close all the old tabs, and already any tab that any new tabs that are opening, he'll already tell them, by the way, we're moving on the end of the year, we're moving to such and such a place. If not, he's going to lose his what's it called? He's going to lose his pants, like they say. And these specifics are why the Nachteimin Saboin longer. Because they carry tabs for a longer time. It's usual to pay with a much longer delay. So then we give him time to collect. We give him more time. Just like the renter, the landlord has to give a notification, so too the tenant has to give notification. So the tenant has all the same obligations as the landlord. If it's, we're in the places like we said, if it's in our city and our residential, he has to give him, before he leaves, he has to give him 30 days notice. Right, and now it's a little bit different also, because back then they used to pay for the rental at the end of the month. So now usually you're paying at the beginning of the month. So the guy doesn't come pay for the beginning of the month. Okay, what is that? You're at back then they would pay at the end of the month. It was a little bit different. So your mom is not leaving 30 days, right? Nowadays, if you don't pay at the beginning of the month, so I know that I'm applying your last. So you can leave his house empty, just like he's gonna have a hard time to find a place to live. In this case, you're leaving the landlord's house empty. He's gonna have a hard time finding a guy to live in his house. The same thing, 30 days, or if it's a store, or if it's a big city, and al-achas kama v'kama, if it's a store in a big city, then 12 months. Same thing, same obligations. And if he didn't give him notice, he has to keep, even if he moved out, you got to keep paying. Sorry. The lease is not sorry, there's no lease here. But you had to give him notice. You didn't give him notice. He now can't get a guy in there. Right, says that Rama alternatively is to find a new guy, and he finds a new guy. However, it has to be a fitting guy. It can't be somebody who's unfit. If he rented it out for a set time, so then he can tell him to go out right away. Right, so now, so that's the bottom line is, Ibn Chessi said that he went back to talking about the Katzov. No notification needed for anybody. Now let's go back, this which we said, that he cannot get him out without advance notice by Ein Zman Katzov, when there's no set time. Im hukru habatim, yesh lamaskil lahisav olavleim elasecher ayischer b'shavei teitze. V'chein im huz labatim, yesh lasecher livcheis, as askar v'leim lamaskil ayischer li kishar shel achshav, v'hare b'esiv onecha. Right, so this is what we like you said before in the Sikomim, that we said that he has to give advance notice. It's true, he has to give advance notice. But since they don't have a lease agreement, if the property values went up or down, the one can say to the other, either pay me more how much it's worth or pay me less. And if not, so I'm leaving. And if the guy doesn't agree, he can leave or he can evict him. But this is only when they're talking about it before, ahead of time. Fine. So yeah. So if as long so that's only once they spoke about it. However, the market changing doesn't automatically change the payment. So if it's one so as long as he didn't speak about it, it stays in the original payment, whatever the original one was. Hago l'cheinim sachlu zman kotzel v'afal pi shenisyak rabotim ha'yehuzlu ein yechelim l'shanis rak kefi shehisnu. However, right, if it's a set lease, I don't care if it went up or went down. That's the amount we agreed on. I don't have to pay you more. I can't demand that you charge me less. That's the agreed upon amount. Somebody who leases the house to his friend and he loves him, then that's the same day and now he hates him. And Yachal hates him in Abayis. He cannot bring him out of the house for this. However, if he said it was very clear, I'm just, you should know I wasn't planning on at least on renting this house out. That's only because I love you, I'm doing you a favor. Now he hates him. Now he can't because it's like they made it tonight. It's like they made it tonight that as long as I still love you, you can. I'm going to do you this favor. When do we say this? When there was no specification. You cannot, right? You cannot go right this is where the Rama, right, where we said that he used the same wording, so the Rama at the end of test uses the slightly different wording as the Mechaber in, and there is actually a whole interesting discussion of it, of why, because also why does he bring it why does he feel the need to bring it at the end of tests? Why doesn't he just wait till Yud? So there is actually like certain things about it, but that's beyond the scope of what we'll get into right now. So that's stama. But if it was man katsuv, it don't make a difference if everything went up, went down, stays the same. Nafal by base amaskir. Shaya darbe as yochel haiti as seich me base yivim lein badin shetei at yeshiv bevesi ad shetim tzamakim vani moshlach baderech she'ein at bal zchus bevayza yes mimeni v'davke b'seichel stam. Our seichel man yodua ein yochel tzitich zmane. So if the seichel's house falls down, the landlord's own house that he's living in falls down, he can evict the tenant and say you're no better than me. Why I should be thrown in the street? Why I should be thrown in the street? Better so because the usual reason is that I have to give notification is you shouldn't be thrown in the street. But here, why I should until I find a place. You're sitting there and I'm thrown in the street. But this is only when there was no lease. If there's a lease, I don't care what fell down. It's like a mechaber. It's like a sale. It's not yours to take. No, you'd base no sana bais live ne you lease by isha im hoyi de shveni nasa khasm biz man pleni va yef shlei lady me kedem lady and yoch leitzi bim action is damna isha va hari hu neis miyad hari ze yesh leitzi she eini bedin she is a yesh basic ken balabais is good by she yas be khasna. The same thing. So if a guy's son is getting married, so it depends. Like we said, if he's he knew about it and didn't tell him, no, then you can't just tell him get out of here. Then you have to give him proper idah. But if I didn't know, my son surprised me, I got married, mazel tov. So then now I need a place. So then based on the same thing, like we said, is that you're no better than me. He can also evict him. That so the same thing, just like we said before, that a buyer takes on himself all of the same obligations as the guy who's leasing, even by not a lease, where there's no set lease, the buyer still takes all the obligations of notification to a guy who doesn't have a lease. The 30 days in a house in the small towns, in a store, or in a big town, 12 months. If it's Tzaboim, or who's the other guys, the Nachteimen and Tzaboim, then it's at 3 years. All the same thing. He is obligated the same like the original Balabas is obligated. Yudalit Makom Shanikim Sheish Lam Reish Shana Gavol is Chizah Batim Ruvin Tzachar Bayis Mishimin Lishana Achas. Covered. Did we do this part really? I mean, we learn this. Did we do in the what do you call it? All these things of Rosh Hashanah or Ibur Hashanah, the leap years and all that? I know we did it in our Seder Limud.
I think we did, because we spoke about
You covered it?
yeah, when you say a year or 13 months.
Right. Okay, good. Let's cover it. I don't think we're gonna get right now into the whole Sma and Shach, because it's as I recall, it's a whole involved thing over there. So Makim Shenegin Sheyesh Nam Shoshana Kavua L'Schilas Abatim Ruvin Tzachar Bayis Mishimin L'Shana Achas Ve'achar Shekol Sa'ashana Nishra Bayis Chedesh Echad Ve'loi Dibruz Im Zeh Klum B'Schil Shana Ba Ve'rat Zaruvin L'Tzeis Me'abayis Ve'Shimim Akiv Al Yodei Shaloi L'Tzeis Atashim Shana Shniya Adin Im Shimin. That once the new month came, being that there's a set Rosh Hashanah for Schirus, once you went into the new year, that means now the mistami you intended on leasing on renting it for the whole year. So now I can force you to stay till the end of that year. Two people who are living in a house and they're arguing about the house. This sounds like a husband and wife, really. What's he talking about? Two people, they live in the same house, and they're arguing about the house. And then one of them wins, right? I'm starting with the wife, right? I mean, obviously. Then let's say he has you have to leave. Basically, no prior notifications of Christ. You're talking about two people. They both moved into a house, and they're arguing with each other. He says, "I'm not moving out. It's my house. I'm not moving out. It's my house." Now the din comes is there's a psak comes from Bezdin. If you're asking me, I think Bezdin should be very careful not to make such a psak in the middle of the winter. They should delay it until the summer to make such a psak. So then you go out immediately. Even without Hidah. And this is like, well, I said we weren't going to do a Smer Shach, but we have to do because of base, Smach of base. Because it's not yours. It's not like you had it once ago. Now he's giving you a Hidah. And you already knew that when the stock comes in, that proves that it's not yours. The guy's not going to want to keep you there. So therefore, right? ועד כאן גם כן לא יחזיק עד שיצאו. He if not he's been waiting to evict you. Like he gave you notice a year ago, but he didn't have the psak to be able to evict you with it. So now the psak came. It's you already had that door. You already knew he doesn't want you there. Yes. Oh, I'm asking by the shona b'schum yadu of nisabra hashona. Nisabra l'seichen. If I rent it for a year for a certain amount and it becomes a leap year, okay, but we rented it for what? For a year. And since what we rented it for was a year, it doesn't make a difference if it's a leap year or not a leap year, any kind of year. So now it's going to benefit the tenant because he's not going to pay for that 13th month. He's going to pay for the year because we agreed on a year. If we said it's by month, the landlord's going to benefit. Why? Because it's 13 months. And listen, I'm sorry, our agreement was by month, not by year. If they mentioned also a months and also years, whether he said to him it's a dinner for each month, 12 dinner a year, or he said yud beis dinner l'shana 12 a year, dinner b'kol chedesh, one dinner every month. It goes to benefit the landlord. Why? Because it's a suffix. And what do you do when it's a suffix? You go by the chazaka. And the chazaka by karka is the karka b'cheskas bala. Land is in the has the chazaka of being in the property of its owners. Hago avalisha sachar melamid livnei. And he says he uses the same two, right? Either month or he uses month and year. And the teacher learned with him 13 months, the whole year. He does not have to pay him for the leap. Remember, we're talking about specifically when he says, when he uses the double blush. Why is that? He does not explain. Oh, because it's very simple. The Mechaber already explained it because there's no chazaka of karka. In that case, the reason by the maskid. By the maskid, it's karka b'chask b'alai. Here we're not talking about karka. It's a malamed. So there's no chazaka, and so now since there's no chazaka, you revert to meitz mechaveda l'varaya. Tes zayin. Malabai sha'omar lizman iskarticha v'secher imer loy sacharti elastam. Lizman aruch. The Balabai says, we set a time for the lease, and the tenant says no. He says we did it without specifying, or for a long time. The tenant has to bring proof. Why? The same thing like we just said before. The Mechaber already told us why. Because the karka b'chazkas balai medes. So the chazaka is with him, and since he has the chazaka, it's so the tenant has makes mechaver over ayah. Agav v'chein b'chol safik shenefel bein hadar b'vayis b'veis chaver ben chaverei imloi she'ach l'shnei chazaka da'az neman b'migud l'kacht. So when So that's the only thing that over, because so generally speaking, he's going to have the chazaka, and therefore makes mechaber l'raya unless he has a migu. He's going to buy zman v'reitzir l'sasri b'seichas zman. He rents it to somebody, and then he wants to knock it down. The tenant can stop him. And if he went ahead and smashed it during that time, he has to build him a new one, a yaskila kamese, or rent him another one similar to it. But if it falls down by itself, so then it depends. If he said, I'm renting to you this house, he doesn't have to build it. And even if let's say the landlord goes ahead and sells and does build it, the tenant can say, I don't want to move into it. I'm actually happy. I actually wanted to leave anyway. Now that it fell down, I'm leaving. So even if the guy went ahead and rebuilt it, why? Because Ba'izeh, our deal was on, and it goes both ways. Right? Again, Choshen Mishpat, everything's fair. It goes both ways. If it fell down, they said Ba'izeh side. Ba'izeh doesn't exist anymore. Obviously, they have to prorate the money. Even if he says, I'm going to build it for my own, we don't listen to him. Right? Meaning if it falls down, the landlord says, well, listen, I told you Ba'izeh, I don't have to. Ba'izeh fell down, doesn't exist anymore. Goodbye, Charlie. See you later. And the tenant says, I'll build it for my own. I'll build it on this land. I'll build it. Nope. He doesn't have to let him. There is one who says that specifically when the whole thing fell down. But if it's still standing, just that it's dangerous to live in there, it's about to fall down. In that case, he has to fix it. He can't let it fall down. If he has, so long as he has advance payment in his hand. But if he just said, or if he just well, in this case, means also if they have a lease, it would be Allah skam v'kam if they actually have a lease. Because kesef mukdam is only has the strength like a lease. But if he didn't say bayizeh, he didn't the lease the agreement wasn't I'm renting you this house, so I'm renting you a house. Then nafon it falls down, he has to rebuild it. Oh, you didn't buy to give him another house. If it is smaller than the house that fell, he cannot hold him back. However, it has to be called a house. It has to be begeder a house. You can't give him a barn. He can't give him a bunker. It has to be begeder a house, because he said I'm a house. So it doesn't have to be as nice as this house. It can, etc. It doesn't have to be as big as this house, but it has to be a house. But that's only if it fell down already, says the Rama. But if it didn't fall down yet, it's just misulkan. He cannot get him out. It's threatening to fall down. He cannot get him out of there. And give him give him a small house like this. Okay, well, it's gonna fall. Nope, he has to repair it. Continues the Mechaber. What if he didn't say bayis? What if he didn't say this house? He said a house like this. So now he has to. Not only he has to give him a house, but since he said bayis kozeh, a house like this. So it basically he falls on both sides. On the one hand, he has to give him a house, and on the second side, it has to be bayis kozeh, a house like this. It has to be like the length and the width of the house that he showed him, and he can't say no. I just meant a house like this, meaning its location or its amenity, where the amenities it's there, etc. So cause that, what does it mean? Same size and similar layout. It doesn't have to be as nice in terms of the quality and the design. He shouldn't make a bigger one small and a smaller one bigger. He shouldn't turn a duplex into a single and a single into a duplex. He shouldn't make less windows. He shouldn't make more windows. Unless they both agreed on this. That they listen, I have another place, but it has more windows. Is that okay with you? Yeah, fine, then it's okay. If it burns down, it's the same as it collapsed. However, if the whole city had a fire, have a makis medina. Now it's a what do you call it? What's the word for this?
COVID.
Like a COVID thing. What do they call that?
It's a population-wide catastrophe.
Yeah,
It's everyone.
Yeah. So in that case, so in this case, he prorates him. He has to prorate him because obviously it burned down. I can't take money from you from a house I don't have anymore. But he does not have to give him a new place to live. It's if it what's it called? Hamas by his bachaveri, who nafal adaita de live neisei umegedei. Did we say that meant nafal? I'm gonna look at it. We have to look into later. Yod Ches. I'm asking Aliyah Stam Chayav Lahamid Aliyah if he just rented him in what do you call Aliyah a loft, then he only has to give him a loft. Amali Aliyah Zush Al Gabi by Zef. He said this loft that's on this house. I mean Matzilcha. Hare Shibud by Aliyah. So then he like enslaved the house to the loft. If the Babat Tvachim or Yesir, if it opened up a hole in this loft that's 4 Tvachim or more, like forget who says it, the Smai thing that 4x4 is the amount, it's the amount of space that a keli can fit on. So he's losing the use of the space of a keli. So Chayva Maskil Takin, he's got to fix it. The owner's got to fix it. Even like Tikin, if he doesn't fix it, so the guy can come and live in his house. The tenant can come and live in his house. And he comes from the main entrance, comes and goes. Until he will fix the loft. But if the loft and the whole house fell down, then ain't tzarich living islay acher. Kivan she'amar loy bayizeh, since he said this house. But if just the loft fell, he's got to build it for him, and until he builds it for him, the guy can live in his house. Now it's interesting because if Mistama, if he would say aliyah babayis, then you would have to give an aliyah somewhere else, just like babayis. You would test how you stay aliyah well gabzu. There was a loft and another loft on top of it, or a floor, another floor on top of it. And the top one opened up. Dar b'tachtaina. You can live in the lower one. Is a suffix in the other b'yayna bayis. Lefichach loy yadur be'imdar ein mitzinis misham. So we don't know if he should live on the upstairs or in the house. So therefore, he should not live in the, I guess, in the upper one. But once he's in there, you don't take him out. Maise chaf ma last sif. Maise be'echad she'amar lechaveiroi. Dalis zu she'al gabi afarsik hazeh. Right, it's like a geffen modalis al ilan sheperisu afarsikin. So it's like a vine that's on like a peach tree. So he said that this vine that's on this peach tree, ani maskilecha, I am renting it to you. And the peach tree got uprooted from its place. So and it came in front of the Chachamim, but Amru Lei, and he said to him, Farsik. You have to replant, you have to put in this peach tree. Why? I guess on the same principle that he was that it became, this peach tree is now meshubah to the vine. Hago we're only talking about if the tree didn't pass away. It's still in this world. But it just needs to be, it's in its place. But it still needs to, it just got uprooted. Aval nektzat, but if it got cut down, if there is no peach tree. It doesn't have to put another peach tree there. Like Bill Cosby said, I told you that story, so I can tell you this one. And so too, if the house fell that's under the other second floor, the Amalei Aliyah shall gav by his own. He told him the Aliyah that's on this house. He does not have to put another house under the Aliyah. And I guess we will continue with Shin Yud Dalid on the next time. What's tomorrow? Tomorrow's Friday already, you know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I guess we'll discuss on the thing if people want to try to get some time in. I guess it depends if Rabbi Chazan has any say in it. If he has any say in it, and he's feeling better tomorrow, then
he's tired from Yom Tov. He still hasn't bounced back.
Yeah, it's I'm still tired from Yom Tov.
Yeah, I hear it. I feel it.
Yeah,